Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Archer's Garage and Whatnot. Today, we're back in the garage doing some mechanical work on an 05 F150. And this one here needs some front end work. I bought it as a quick flip. The guy said it needed some front end work. That's easy enough, right? So we'll knock it out. And I want to show you how to diagnose it yourself, how to fix it yourself, and all that kind of stuff. So let's get started on this thing. Alright, so here's what we're working on. A little quick view here. Like I said, it's an 05 F150 4-door, 4-wheel drive. King Ranch is a 5.4. It's got a 6-inch lift. It's got the big wheels and tires. I don't even know what size they are. It says 35, 12, 50, 20. So it's on 20s. So good looking truck, right? I traded one vehicle for this one. Figure trucks make money, right? So I had an SUV guy wanted, so I traded him for this. It's got the push bar, got the bed cover. I've already done a few cosmetic things to it. Put the headlights in, fog lights, and the armrest inside was torn, so I replaced that. And, the rear window, it had the 3-piece rear window, and it was busted, so I went and got a new one. I probably should have filmed that because that was interesting. Went to the junkyard, got a window for it. But anyway, what we're looking at today is suspension. So I've already tested it, and that way I can order parts, but I'm going to show you how to test for these suspension pieces that may be worn out. And let me turn this around so I can explain it to you. So this happened to a very good friend of mine just recently. I say recently, about 4 years ago. He lived across the street from me. He had a truck just like this, but 2-wheel drive. He took it to the dealership I used to work at, and they gave him a quote. It was something like $3,000, maybe $2,500. It was something crazy for a bunch of front end work. So he told him, he said, "You guys know who my neighbor is. I'm going to have him check it out before I give any approval." "Oh, yeah, sure, no problem." So he brought it to me. I looked at it, and my buddy's name is Paul. I said, "Paul, I could not sell you anything on this truck. It doesn't need anything." He had one tire that was, it was a little bit, it had a hard spot in it, right? So if you put it on a wheel balance machine, the newer ones, they actually have a roller that will measure road force on it, and it'll tell you if there's a hard spot in the tire. One of the tires had a little bit of a hard spot, so you put that one in the passenger side rear, and you will never feel that. I can't even talk today. Can't even feel that in the truck. And they wanted to rebuild his whole front end for, you know, a couple $1,000s. That's why this channel exists, stuff like that. So let me show you how to check your front end to see if somebody's going to try to scam you. So let's get some tools out. Let's get started on it. All right, so first thing you want to do, check the vehicle up, check stand for safety, and then you want to make sure you got your wheel off the ground, so you have no weight on the wheel, right? So then you come over here, and so your wheel's off the ground, right? So you can spin it, and you take either a long screwdriver or use a jack handle, whatever you've got handy, and you put your pry bar or screwdriver, whatever you have, under the wheel at about the 6 o'clock point, okay? And then this is how you check your ball joints. You can do this top or bottom. See? You can see it moving there. Now you're gonna have some play, but you don't want a lot of play. Because if you don't have some play, then you've got binding, right? But you don't want a lot. See how it's kind of clicking in there? So this ball joint's worn out, and also this bushing in here is worn out. So it might be hard to see on camera, but you can feel it and you can see it. Now the bottom ball joint, it has no play, so I'm not even going to show that to you because it is good and secure. But you would see that like this on the bottom one also, if it was bad. Now, to check your tie rod ends, then you go like 3 and 9 o'clock with your hands, of course, wheel in the air again, right? And you go side to side, right? So the wheel goes side to side. Now, I've already gone ahead and checked these because I had to order parts and everything, so I know that the outer tie rod end is bad, but I'll show it to you. But that's how you check that, is you just 3 and 9 side to side. Simple jobs. Just, you will need an alignment after these, but all these jobs you can do in your driveway, so we'll show you how to do them. All right, so here, right there where my finger is, that's your outer tie rod end, and I'll see if I can do this while holding the camera. You see that slop in there? You should not have that. But like I said before, you're gonna have a little bit of play, because if you don't, you've got binding. But that is very excessive. So we're gonna replace this and that upper control arm. All right, so there's no right or wrong way, I guess, to start on this. So we'll start on your outer tie rod. So you got to break your jam nut loose, and this one you break it loose by spinning as you're looking at it this way, clockwise. And there's a couple different schools of thought on this one. You could either measure from center point of this one to the other side of the vehicle, and that'll get you close enough to alignment. But one thing I like to do is 2 steps. You break this loose and you tighten it to it just barely touches this, right? And then you count when you unscrew this one how many screws it takes to get it off, and then the new one should be very, very similar until you butt it up against your nut again, and then you should be really, really close enough to get it to the alignment shop. So let's go ahead and get that. So we break this loose, spin this guy off, right? And then this guy here, you hit him. The easiest way to get these is with an impact gun. If you don't have one, you can do it by hand, but the easiest way is with an impact gun, because it'll zip it off without spinning. It's got the shaft in here. Let me show you. The shaft, see how it's, let's see if I can get a good focus. See how it's kind of tapered? Well, it gets tight in there when you okay, so you're like this. So when you tighten it down, it binds, right? Well, if you just try to spin this nut off by a wrench, if it breaks this connection, well, now all these internals are just spinning free. But if you can zap it loose with a gun, it comes off way easier. So if you've got a gun, use it. If not, it's not the end of the world. All right, good teaching moment. Crummy thing to happen, but good thing it happened for the video, right? All right, so the ball joint came loose, right? But it's spinning. If you look here, see how the innards in this area here are spinning? So that's what I was talking about, how the innards can spin. Not the end of the world. So this nut, it's metric, but it also transfers over. So it's a 21 millimeter, but a 13/16 works just fine. So you put your 13/16 on there, right? And then once that's there, then you take your 10 millimeter. You put your 10 millimeter here. Now the trick is you tighten the 10 millimeter, because you're trying to tighten it through the nut. You're not loosening this, you're loosening the nut. And by loosening the nut, you're tightening this, if that makes any sense at all. So you're driving this through the nut. All right? So I'll try to set up the camera so it'll show you. All right, let's see if we can make this make sense for you. All right, so we're tightening the little shaft to go through that. See? Like that. Then your nut comes off. And your tie rod end comes out. That's that. Alright, there she is. And don't forget your cotter pin. The one from the factory doesn't use one, so don't forget when you replace it to look in the box, and don't forget your cotter pin. We're tightened here. The counts were nearly identical, and I've got my nut snugged up. So now we move up to our upper control arm. Now if you've got a bad ball joint, this is how you replace that. Now the lower, you can physically replace this ball joint without replacing the A-arm. I recommend replacing the A-arm. It's not a whole lot more money. It's maybe $100 more. But with that $100, you don't have to mess with the tool to do this and the hassle of doing this, and you get the new bushings. If you do just the ball joint, now you've still got your old bushings. If you do the whole A-arm, you get your bushings, ball joint, A-arm, everybody. So the whole deal's done. So anyhow, all right, so moving on to this one. What I like to do, see how loose that is. Yeah, that's bad. So I like to break everything loose before I pull any one component loose, right? So I'm gonna zap him loose, and then it'll be this guy. And then if this does not pop out, what you do is you take a hammer and you wrap it on here pretty good. You're not going to damage this. You take a 2-pound sledge or whatever you've got, and you hit this a few times, and it will pop out. So then you've got your nut here, and there's the bolt head in there, and the same thing on this side. So fairly simple. And here's what the new one looks like. Right? So simple and straightforward, right? Let's get started. All right, so this one wanted to fight just a little bit, but you see what I was talking about? So took my nut off, and it didn't want to loosen, wanted to stay embedded, and that's normal. I mean, this is kind of the way it's designed. So with this attached here, I just took my 2-pounder, little guy, and you wrap it on there like it owes you money a few times, and it pops loose. So then you take there's a bolt that goes in this way and that way. You take the nut off. It's a the nut is a 7/8. I'm sure they're metric, but I'm telling you the standard equivalent. So 7/8 and 13/16. Same on this side. And then what I do, I'd leave the bolts inside there trying to fish them out. You don't need to, because you're going right back in with it. So then you got all this loose. You slide this guy out of here, right? So here you go. See how now that joint isn't horrible. The bad part, there it is. You can even see. I don't know if it's showing up on camera or not. See how the rubber's torn in there? Yeah, that was the slop there. Between that and that outer tie rod end, this one was it was feeling kind of shaky. So yeah, there we go. So now take the new one and go back in. That's it. All right, there we have it, folks. Tight there, there and there. That's all it is. And we're tight there, of course. So now put the wheel back on. I'll show you when the wheel's back on how we tested before. I'll test it again, show you the snugness that's there, and then we go to the other side and rinse and repeat over there, and then we'll take it to the alignment shop. And then this truck's up for sale, because the only reason I got it is for a quick flip. So although it is a pretty truck, I don't want it. So here we go. All right, remember where we were before? Put the screwdriver or jack handle or whatever it is you have about the 6 o'clock position, right? and we pry. All right, so now you are going to see some movement, but that's the movement you want. That's your suspension moving like it should. But we don't have that clunk and the sloppiness from before, remember? All right, so there we go. All right, everybody, so there you go. And just so you know, this took me maybe an hour, and that's with filming. And filming always takes longer because, you know, you're trying to set up the shot and trying to do this or that, waiting for the compressor to turn off, all these things. So maybe an hour. Now, if you've never done something like this, it'll probably take you a little bit longer. If you are good with your tools, probably even faster. And that's dealing with these big old wheels and tires and being in a driveway. If you've got a shop, you can totally do this a lot faster. But anyhow, the reason this channel exists is I used to work in a dealership, and I have seen some scumbags come through there, and they would charge you through the nose for work you did not need. This channel exists for the small guy to be able to beat the big guy. So with simple hand tools, a little bit of initiative, you can fix your car and save a bunch of money, right? So this thing here, I've got maybe $100 in it. That's all the suspension. You can rebuild this front end off of Amazon, of course, for about $100. That's doing the work yourself. If you need to go buy some tools, well, they got some cool tools in your toolbox now. But this is simple hand tools. I didn't buy anything special for this. Well, I didn't buy anything anyway. I already have it. But you wouldn't have to buy anything special for this. So now the truck's going to need an alignment. So could you do that on your own? Yeah, you could do string and tape measure and all that. You could do it. Don't really recommend it. It's not the most fun thing to do. Take it to an alignment shop, pay your $100. You already saved yourself $400 or $500 by doing this on your own. So might as well pay for the alignment. Plus, if you go to a reputable place, you get, you know, a nationwide warranty on it. So anyhow, if you like this type of stuff, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. Let me know what you think. And some people don't let me know what you think. I got a comment last night, on a video that's like 2 years old, complaining that there were 2 bolts that I didn't say how to put those bolts in. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Don't forget to put those bolts in, everybody. There you go. Put all your bolts in. Yep. When you're putting the power steering pump in on your Ford Focus, it has 4 bolts. Put them all in. Yep. Anyhow, if you like this type of stuff, we will be back more often. I took a little bit of a break, but I'm trying to get something out every week. I've got some good stuff lined up, some really cool stuff lined up. One of my next ones coming up, my next door neighbor, he ordered a lift kit. He's got a new-ish Dodge Ram. It is a Dodge. It's not a Ram. It is a Dodge. I don't care what you want to call it. It's a Dodge. Anyhow, he ordered a lift kit, and he's ordering the wheels and tires. I don't know if he did that yet or not. When that comes in, we'll video that, so you see how to put a lift kit on in your driveway. So cool, right? And like I said, I've got a really cool one I'm working on. I've been working on it for about 6 months, just piecing it here and there. Really cool stuff. Anyhow, thank you for joining us. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and thank you for joining us here at Archer's Garage and Whatnot. Have a blessed day, everybody.